Well, we're on Solina, Theron. Welcome to the Luke Farr Show, a show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. Thank you for coming on. You're a familiar face.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah. Take, cut, take. Yeah, really right. And we're here again. Look, hey, good things take time, right?
That's true. We made it finally.
That's good. Hey, so you're the CEO and founder of Black Swan Productions and recent owner of Euro Tire Cleveland, proudly representing in your new merch there. I haven't seen that shirt before.
Yeah.
How cool.
New. These are new. These shirts, you know. Yeah.
these tires. I'm pretty sure you're not wearing a tire on you, but well, is it made out of tires? Maybe.
No, not yet. We're not that progressive just yet. Although I do have some ideas up my sleeve.
That's good. Hey, evidently a serial entrepreneur there. I mean, anything specifically that you absolutely love about the hustle?
I always wanted to do a commodity business, I guess, and I suppose tires are a commodity. Doesn't matter if you have an EV or a normal car. So, yeah, why not?
Yeah, nice. And so, obviously, niching into offering tires purely just for Euro cars, right?
Yeah, I mean, we do all cars, but the target audience is European SUVs and EVs, just because of the area of where the business is situated, which is in the middle of Cleveland, Auckland. So pretty much horse country, farming, rural community. So most of the cars that are driven around the area here are European SUVs or EVs, basically. Yeah.
And for people that don't know, Cleveland effectively jump straight on State Highway 1, right? Head towards Manukau, then you just go east.
Yeah, you just basically jump on the motorway, Southern Motorway, and head towards south, basically, and then head out to Cleveland, which is sort of southeast of Auckland. It's about 40 to 45 minutes outside of Auckland, which is with no traffic, obviously. Good traffic, probably like 10 hours out of Auckland.
Yeah, with no traffic, which is effectively never in Auckland.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, well, it is. If you go out of peak hour, it's good. Yeah, it's fine outside of peak hour traffic. We just don't go on peak hour.
Hey, this traffic chat, this is taking the world by storm. Hey, I want to, yeah, exactly. I want to track back a little bit, just give the audience a little bit more insight around, who you are. Let's talk about childhood a little bit. Was there any key insights and learnings from childhood that have shaped you into the person you are today? You're obviously running multiple businesses, but yeah, anything that stood out as a kid that has made you who you are today?
I think I was always different as a kid because I obviously mixed race and I grew up in Australia, so I was kind of like the black kid in school. Not that I'm black, but compared to all the blonde hair and blue-eyed kids in Aussie, I was like different. So I've always felt different, and I've always been fairly individualistic and thought generally outside the box. I've never felt like I've fitted in anywhere, and I guess that's kind of helped me in the sense that I've always been fairly independent, and I guess as a business owner, you need to think independently, and I think you need to think outside the box to achieve different things in life. So I suppose that's probably what the biggest key learning is that I've had from being a little outcast, half-caste kid, whatever you want to call it.
Did you experience any level of racism growing up?
Oh yeah, heaps. Yeah, I was picked on when I was a kid all the time, like called Ching Chong, Chinaman, all kinds of names and stuff like that, and yeah, teased a lot.
Yeah. Any learnings out of that? I mean, around like building resilience, building up that strength of character.
For a really long time as a kid, like I was kind of ashamed that I was dark, which is quite bad. But as I grew up, I kind of had to learn to love myself. I was just not in an up myself way, but I was like, well, I'm brown, so what? Just own it, And then I think I just was kind of like, who cares?
Well, it's a positive anyway. I mean, people go to the beach that are white to get brown. So it's like...
Well, it wasn't a positive when you were growing up in the 80s in Australia with the white. We're just coming off the back of the White Australia policy. Let's just say that right there.
Yeah, true.
She was like the ethnic that belongs on SBS kind of thing,
Yeah, I
Pretty
love
much.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there any advice you'd give to your younger self from those types of days where, challenged with racism and bullying and things like that?
Rise above it. Don't let it stop you. I think you can look at all the bad stuff that's happened to you as a kid and go, oh, poor me, or whatever. Or you can just go, oh, well, that sucked. But, what am I going to learn out of it? How am I going to make that tragedy into something that can be amazing? Or, I think it does teach you resilience. It taught me to accept myself for who I was and not allow other people's words to affect your psyche or your mind. I mean, it does. It definitely did for a very, very long time. Like, I'm not going to say it didn't, but I think you have to do that mental work within yourself to kind of go, I'm not going to let that define me.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. What do you think it's so important that we need to learn to love ourselves before we can love others?
Sorry, what did you mean by that question?
So, like we often hear, it's funny because we're going from tires into an Oprah Winfrey style chat show, but that's fine. You get all sorts on the Luke Farr show. But we always hear that quote though. You got to learn to love yourself before we can start to love others. And that good, healthy love, not the egotistic, narcissistic love. But in your experience, like, why was it so important for you as a young child to start learning to love yourself?
Because I hated myself. I hated everything about myself. Like, I hated how I looked. I hated the color of my skin. I didn't like how I was, because obviously when I was a kid, I got teased, and, I always felt different. I always felt like the odd kid out when I was younger, because I was the odd kid out. Like, no, it's different in New Zealand, I think. I mean, I grew up in Australia, just to clarify that. So I think New Zealand is very multicultural.
Oh, really?
Australia, like in the 80s, was not multicultural at all. Like, it was seriously, I was the black kid, and I know I'm not black, but I mean, I was the dark kid, the odd one out. So I think it's really important. I think I didn't really realize that probably till quite late in life, where I was just like, people see you how you see yourself. So, and it took me a long time to probably figure that out. And I just had to, I don't know, it was a mindset shift. I just had to say, I accept myself as I am. Can't change what I look like. It's just got to love yourself. Not in a, I love myself. Just, I mean, as in like, I'm okay with being dark. I'm okay with being brown or whatever it is. I'm okay with my cultural heritage. I'm okay being that person. I don't need to be the white Australia policy to fit in, Yeah,
100%. Yeah, there's some good insights there. Did you start to like build more confidence as you started to grow older and start to sort of get attention from males and things like that? Did that help with starting to be like, oh, people appreciating me? Or
no, not really. I always used to think guys didn't like me because I was dark. I was like, oh, they probably like a blonde. They probably like prefer someone that's blonde. Like, honestly, that's how I used to think.
So they're attracted to the character that you do on your Instagram.
Yeah. But then I kind of, when I had that mindset shift, I sort of thought, well, I'm just going to harness the exotic cat.
Exotic cat. Love that.
Not a white Persian cat,
Yeah, well, you gotta own your own brand, right? Like, we're born that way, and I mean, sure, hey, look, you know better than anyone else through cosmetics. You can change certain things, but you can't change how you're feeling about yourself, and you're in that monkey chatter that's going on and on every day. Yeah, you got to be your own best friend, right?
Totally, 100%. And I'm still learning it. Still, rewiring your brain, so to speak, every day.
Yeah. 110%. Yeah, it's a never ending practice, really. Constant. Let's go back into tires. So there's a little fun statistics here. Tires are made up from 30 different kinds of rubber, antioxidants, textile elements, steel, belts, beads, and other components. Natural and synthetic rubber combine to make up the core component of the tire. I mean, there's a lot more than meets the eye there when getting your tires, or as you like to call them, shoes. But how yeah, I got some new kicks today, like not sure if I was to go to a tire shop and then I get them replaced and then I'd come home to say I've got new kicks, but I quite like the analogy. But anyway, how do you think Euro Tire, Solina and Cleveland is differentiating itself in the marketplace?
We're female skewed a little bit because obviously I'm female own a tire shop, which is a little bit different. I kind of, again, sometimes when you go to a tire shop or a mechanic as a female, it's kind of like walking in there blind. You feel like, oh gosh, here they are, and they sort of rip you off in some ways. So you put in complete faith. Oh yeah, have these, try these. Your tires really need fixing, and it's kind of like, are you just making a sale out of me, And so I guess I wanted authenticity and just to be honest with women and like help them. Okay, well, what do you need, and this is why you'd pick those tires as opposed to those tires. Like, what are you going to be using your car for? Are you going to be driving it around a paddock, or are you just going on the motorway? So there's all different sorts of tires for depending on what you're wanting to use your car for. So I guess I just wanted to help them and have it slightly female skewed, but we are obviously open to anybody. But yeah.
Cool, that's great. I like that. And as far as like a tire shop out in Cleveland, like, are you, like, I heard earlier you were saying, hey, look, you like to sort of collaborate with certain brands and things like that, like, making that experience. Like, I mean, for example, how long does it take to change like an average tire? Like, if I was to roll in and I need 2 tires changed, like how long am I waiting there for? And then are you going to create sort of these new opportunities to create the experience, like offering them coffee, drinks, entertainment, zhuzh it up a bit? I don't know, get Miley Cyrus playing in the background, who knows?
Not quite that, but we allow around 2 hours to do 4 tires. So it does depend on what car you have. Some cars are quicker, some take a little bit longer. And then the wheel alignments that we do, probably between an hour and 2 hours, depending on how bad it is. Sometimes they can be really quick, but it just depends how out the tires are and that kind of, and also what kind of car. Like some smaller cars are really quick, whereas if you've got like an SUV or a sports car, then obviously it takes a lot longer because everything has to be aligned differently. So I guess, and the other things that we're going to be looking at doing is working in with like local businesses. So, because it is a local business and we are Clevedon, which is 45 minutes outside of Auckland, as an incentive to get people out to Clevedon, which is like a tourist destination in Auckland anyhow, partnering with someone like the local cafes or pubs such as Hallertau, basically saying, hey, look, we can give you like a voucher. You can go and have a meal there, have a look around the markets on Sunday, and, while you wait to get your tires fitted. So just doing stuff a little bit outside of the box like that.
Hey, that's cool. Hey, big shout out to the Wild Fermenary, by the way. You should, do you know her?
That's exactly how we're going to work with them as well, Kelly. So also
Kelly,
do computer
cool. Yeah, great.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I'm sure Cleveland's a small community. I would have known that you've connected with her already. But yeah, love their drink. Shout out to them. Yeah. Head to, what is it? www.wildfermenary.co.nz.
And www.eurotire.co.nz.
yeah, true. Yeah. Put in the code Eurotire for actually no. Just,
we were talking about doing like a little bit of a collab, but we haven't finalized anything yet. Yeah,
she's building her one now, isn't she? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they used to be our neighbours. So their old fermentary where they started was actually next door to us.
Oh,
so they're just going around the corner, which is really cool. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, great brand. Hey, let's flip into mindset and mental health a little bit. How do you ensure, Solina, that you're, owning the day, getting the most out of it, and ultimately having the most fun possible?
Funny you should ask that, because I just actually had.
Funny you should ask that, Luke, because you did send the questions to me prior, so I could write a script to deliver like we're on Fox News. Yeah, that's why.
No, I'm not going to write a script at all. Like a week ago, on the 9th of April, I actually had this epiphany about mindset. Right. Oh. So, okay, I'm going to tell you. So I've figured it out, which I'm sure thousands of people have figured this out before, but how everyone says, oh, just think positive, just do this, da 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 da, and you're like, oh yeah, whatever, okay. I think they call it mindfulness.
Correct. Yeah.
And no one, like, you know, when you sit there and you listen to meditation music, you're kind of like, oh, nothing's happening. This is retarded. Like, ugh. It's like, doesn't do anything for me. Anyway, I was listening to this neuroscientist, and she was fascinating because she was saying how your mind works is literally what you tell your mind is where your body and your brain will go. And she said the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is mindset. And so she was explaining that the mind doesn't understand don't, no, future commands, or must not. Like, it only understands present commands. So if you say something like, I will be successful, the brain's like, oh yeah, whatever. I don't need to kick anyone into action doing that. Or if you say, I am successful, the brain's like, oh, okay, well, we better get our butt into gear and become successful. So I've been doing this thing since then, and just reshifting my mind as to where I want it to go. So just been, you know, having really intentional thoughts about what I want in life and where I want to be and what I want to get out of it. So, yeah, and I think it kind of comes back to faith and having that, speaking that stuff into your head, into your mind, into your life, and then, you know, seeing that actually happen in reality. And she said the other thing that the brain works on is really descriptive language and vivid pictures in your mind. So that comes back to like the visualization. So, you know, sometimes, you know, for example, I had a really terrible week last week. I had a really, really bad day and I was not feeling good. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. I'm just going to tell myself I'm happy. So I went for a run and I was like really upset. Like, I was really full on stressed out. And I was like, oh, this is a terrible day, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, no, I'm just going to say this is a great day. I'm so happy. I'm so full of joy. I am feeling amazing, da, da, da. And I was like crying, going,
but also whipping into gratitude, though. Gratitude takes you into a more of a happy state, like scientifically in the brain, that psychologists talk about that.
Yeah. And then literally after about 20 minutes, when I was into my run, I was feeling amazing. And I had the best day. And then it was like,
that may or may not have something to do with the endorphins, though.
No, I don't think so. It definitely wasn't to do with the endorphins, because I did not want to go for a run. I literally forced myself to go, and like it was actual. Like, I can remember just forcing myself to think that. And then I set my mindset up for the whole day, and I felt great. And I think you've got to do that every single day. And so I've been practicing that since the 9th of April.
That's great. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. There's a nice quote. Yeah, energy flows where your mind goes, and that's so true. Like, if you're just constantly remunerating or going over more negative-based self-talk, that flows into the body, flows into your behaviors, flows into your actions. Like, positive thoughts produce positive actions, but also our brains are wired to think more negatively anyway. We've got that primal brain where we're always trying to set ourselves up for escaping the tiger, like avoiding the fight-flight, right? Like, meditation and all these courses out there in the world, like, it wouldn't be a thing if we were born with brains that always thought positively.
Actually, that's just a habit thing. So that's what this book was saying that I'm reading at the moment about rewiring your brain. So pretty much it's like, the more you think negatively, and I don't think you realize how negatively you think until you actually try and think positive thoughts to replace that. And so what this neuroscientist was saying is that we tell ourselves, oh, the traffic's awful, it was a murderous day. Like, we are constantly telling ourselves negative stuff, where we shouldn't be saying that to ourselves. We should say, oh, okay, well, you know, it's a little frustrating, but I am going to learn patience out of this. Or it's just like reframing how you look at a situation. And the brain works on, it always goes back to what is familiar. So you need to make the unfamiliar familiar, in the sense of make the negative positive. So, but it's just a matter of rewiring those neurotransmitters within your brain and being like, you know, I'm going to say positive things to myself. I'm not going to tell myself this. I'm not going to tell myself that. Because one of the things you were saying, like, depression is linked to negative thinking. So you can actually, and it's hard, but you can actually shift your mindset. And that's what, I just thought it was fascinating. So I've been doing it, and it's been good,
It is. It's really phenomenal stuff, not only with business, but in your personal life as well. And I think one of the biggest takeaways I've had as well out of like the Eckhart Tolles of the world or Jordan Peterson, some of these psychologists, is really like surrender, because we're all going to have those shit thoughts every now and again, but it's about surrendering to them and accepting them, as opposed to if you put resistance up to them, that it only amplifies, right? Like for example, if you're having multiple negative thoughts and you keep saying to yourself and judging those thoughts,
Don't think that.
It's like you go, oh, I accept that thought. Thank you for coming in. And now I'm just going to move over to a more gratifying thought and think of 3 things I'm grateful for today to shift that energy,
Totally. And I'm learning a lot, and it's a good thing as a business person too, because sometimes you do feel quite alone as a running and doing a business and stuff like that. And so it's quite a good thing to just refocus your brain. And I just kind of think you got to think and believe that you're successful, and you will become that. You become what you believe. I definitely believe that. It's not like a weird spiritual thing. It's like an actual scientific fact of how your mind works.
Oh, 110%. There's all the empirical evidence out there that stipulates this stuff. There's another good one that I quite like is, thoughts create feelings and feelings create emotions. And it starts there with your mind, right? If you're thinking negatively, that's going to create and it can turn into a very vicious cycle. But I think the other thing too is not only the thoughts, but the execution and actions after the thoughts. You know what I mean? Like we could sit there all day long being like, I'm successful. I believe I'm successful. I'm so goddamn successful. I'm just, great, but not be doing any action part.
Oh yeah. You've actually got to do action. Yeah. You can't just sit there telling yourself that and do nothing. That's not going to work.
That's a good point. Hey, let's flip the script a little bit. Anything's possible on this show, and we can go across all different topics.
We have. Yeah. We've solved the world's problems today, and tires and plastic surgeons.
As long as we're educating the audience. But let's flip the script a little bit. Why do you think men and women struggle to understand each other? Or maybe you might not think they do struggle.
No, they absolutely do, because men and women's brains are wired completely differently. Men see a situation in a completely different way as to what a woman will see it. I've got this little cool group of friends in Auckland, and we're always talking about, like, we always ask each other, like, oh, so he said this or she said that, like, what does that even mean? And like a perfect example was one of my friends.
Scenario, yeah.
Do you want to hear the scenario?
110%.
This is the difference between men and women, right? Men see things very differently to how women see things. So to cut a long story short, male friend had gone on a date, and it was date number 2. They headed off on date number 1. Date number 2 comes around, and she's like, I'm going to come up out of town, to see you. And he's like, okay, cool. Would you like to stay? He was going to book a hotel, but then he decided, no, you can come and stay at my house if you'd like to. 2 days, right? Then on the next day, introduces her to his friends circle, friends groups, and he's thinking the reason he's introducing her is to see, like, a test, like to see if she passes the test for the check boxes, right? For the for the friends. So she passes it. The woman is thinking, oh, this guy really likes me because he's invited me. I'm staying at his house for 2 days, and not only that, like, I've been introduced to the friend circle. And so, but completely, he's like, oh, I didn't know, that's not what I meant at all. Like, when we were chatting about it, and it actually was. And it's just how men and women.
How's it eventuated? Are they still hanging out? Oh, no, it's gone. It's gone.
I think she went down the rabbit hole too. She went down that rabbit hole too quick, and he got cold feet. It's like, oh, I'm out.
Too quick. Hang on. Wasn't he the one that offered her to stay at his house for 2 nights? No? Wasn't that
Yes. And then I think she was just like, oh, you're my favorite person, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, oh, no, too much. And I was like, well, you got to take ownership of the fact that she's thinking, because women, I guess the point I was making is women think if a man introduces you to his mates, she's thinking he must like me because he's introducing me to his friends. Or according to some of my male friends, they're like, no, it's just a test run. It doesn't mean we think it doesn't mean we're serious about them. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's not a. Well, it's interesting they're using the terminology like test run. I would probably frame it in a different way. I mean, it's just more so. Out of also like you know how males think more probably simplistically, you know. I mean, we're not as emotionally charged as females, and also we don't have as higher EQ as females as well. But in a bloke's head, there's like, oh, well, she can just come along and hang out with the boys, like nothing more, nothing less type thing, you know?
Yeah, that's it. There's no, and when women read into it, think, oh, he must really like me because I'm getting introduced to his friends. Because females, if we introduce you to our friends, it means we really like you, and it's like you're going to be sticking around for a long time. Whereas it's like, you know, and all the females in the room, all the girls in the group go, yeah, like, how did you not get that? Well, of course, that's what we're thinking. And he's like, what? They're just like, what the hell?
And the females are probably thinking, oh, shit, and I wonder how many friends he's got. So, for example, if he's inviting me over to hang out with 3 friends versus 5 versus 10, if it's 10 friends, he must really love me. You know, if it's only 3, oh, he's not that into me. They'd probably break it down like that.
And the other thing I think men can do that women can't is compartmentalize. Like they can separate stuff and put it into boxes and disconnect. They can disconnect their emotions, whereas I think I'm generalizing here, but I'm saying probably the majority of women I think find it hard to disconnect emotion. It's all wrapped in together.
Yeah, very true. I was actually chatting to a friend yesterday, and she was saying, so, for example, if she's doing the washing, she'll be in her head planning so much more, you know, for the next foreseeable 3 hours, as opposed to the blokes doing the washing and going, sock in there, towel in there, and focusing on the washing.
Yeah.
Which has got positives and negatives, man. Like, we really live in the moment.
Yeah, I know. I wish we could do that. That's the problem with females is we think we can't switch the brain off, whereas men can just think white noise. They can just actually think nothing. I don't even understand how men can just think nothing. I can't ever just think nothing.
Yeah, it's fascinating, eh? Like I've always kind of thought that I've like a female in a male's body type. I don't know why, but I mean, look, some females turn around and they're like, oh, you've got more gay tendencies. Like, I've never been gay, I've got gay friends, love the gay community, but full heterosexual. But yeah, I'm just, because my brain doesn't shut off, and I'm an overthinker, and I'm very like charged emotionally, and so certain females they kind of like that, but then they're like, oh, hang on, like this isn't the blokey kind of character that I usually deal with, which is fascinating, eh? But look, both have their pros and cons, but let's put it this way: I'm the one that's doing the washing, thinking 100 other things. Like, I'm not the bloke that's just like, put my sock in there and yeah. But anyway,
that's probably a good thing, though. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's great to have a high level of EQ, and I just think it's not common amongst a lot of men. If I was to take my like 15 close male friends, there'd probably only be like 3 of us that are like that.
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
And then all of the other blokey ones are always like, you guys are so sensitive and rah, rah, rah. Like they pretty much treat us probably like how they treat their wives.
Exactly. You're just a wife with different equipment.
With different equipment. Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Different wheels, right?
Different wheels.
Yeah, back to tyres. I mean, small segue. A little fun fact about the Formula One there. The tyres lose weight during the course of the race. In an average race, they lose about 0.5 kg of weight due to wear. And during wet conditions, the tyres get rid of almost 250 litres of water per second, which is crazy.
In Formula One.
This is Formula One. Yeah, true. This isn't just driving around Cleveland.
Yeah.
Which is more than enough to fill a large bar. If you were, let's just flip into Formula One, fun, quick questions. But if you were a race car driver, would you rather represent Ferrari, Mercedes, or Porsche?
I'm gonna say Porsche.
Oh, that's a tough one. She was thinking about this.
Because I love but they're my favorite car. Yeah.
Porsche. Very good.
Love them. Yeah.
And then I'm going to completely segue back into the male female chat. But let's talk around. I mean, I personally think women don't, well, not necessarily don't need a man these days, but I just think if we're looking back to the 60s and the traditional lifestyle of the female being the provider and not the provider, or the provider of the children, and they're at home and she's doing the cooking and things like that, and the bloke's out working. Do you still think women require actually a man comparatively to back in the 60s now? I mean, women nowadays, I mean, they're CEOs of companies, they're running the show, they're completely far more independent than what they were in the 60s, right? So they don't really need a man, is my kind of debate. But what are your thoughts as a woman?
I reckon, I mean, look, you can do perfectly fine without one, but it's a lot nicer to have one around. Yeah, I think. Yeah. I mean,
great, succinct answer. It was just bang it. You're like, it's far better with one.
That's my personal view. I mean, I can't speak for all women, but I live on a farm.
Yeah, true.
I live on a farm.
Women talk around this topic at all? Like, I don't really need a man. Is that the type of narrative amongst women groups, or?
I think a lot of women. I mean, I know the gender roles have been really blurred lately, but I definitely think men have strengths that women don't, and I could be getting myself into a lot of trouble here by saying this. And I definitely believe in equality and all of that, but there's certain strengths that men have that women maybe aren't as good as, and vice versa. And that's why we're different, and that's why our brains are wired differently, because I think together you kind of complement each other. If it, yeah,
I agree with that. I mean, man, imagine if we both as genders thought the same. Jeez, that would be horrific.
Yeah, it could be. But I mean, like I live on a farm, so there's a lot of heavy kind of work, and like there are some things that it's a lot easier if you have someone strong around to help you. Put it that way. So.
Yeah, that's true. Shout out my mum who's trying to get me to get back to the Hawke's Bay to help her in the garden, because that's the thing, right? Like biologically, men are stronger than women.
Yeah, unless you're taking steroids and spend 20 hours at the gym every day.
True. Yeah, no. Yeah, blokes do come in handy. Yeah, I love it how that's the only thing that, like, you're like, oh yeah, I just need a bloke around to really sort of just.
No, there's other thing. I mean, look, I'm not going to go there. This is a G-rated program, isn't it? Like,
certainly not. No, this is R18. This is definitely R18.
Well, clearly, there's other benefits of men around, but
Oh, of course, yeah, of course, 100%. Yeah,
and also I think they're good problem solvers. Not saying women aren't good problem solvers, but they're very unemotional, and they can often put in a balanced, non-emotional view. Sometimes I think women, speaking for myself, not everybody here, can get very emotional about stuff, whereas men are quite good at being matter of fact and just taking all emotion out of it and going, this is how it is. Yeah. So lots of advantages.
True.
Yeah.
It's an interesting topic. If we were to take all females in the world and all men, do you think females are better in the kitchen?
Oh gosh, that's a well,
it's a loaded question.
And honestly, I got made dinner by some very good friends who are males a couple of nights ago. We had like a little get together with our fun group, and honestly those boys cooked an amazing dinner, and the three girls sat down while they cooked. It was great, amazing food. Like wow, I don't even like red meat, and I ate a bit of beef, and it was like, oh, this is actually really good.
I was gonna say, yeah, was it just meat and 3 veg?
Yeah. 3 vegetables.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. Right, we're gonna move smoothly on to probably a little bit more tire chat, but before we wrap into that, if you were a dating coach, what advice would you give to a man who is struggling to find his forever love? And no, I'm not talking about myself. before anyone out there thinks that that's a loaded question for me. No, it's just a question.
A dating coach for a male. Oh, that's an
Well,
interesting.
so a man who's struggling to find their forever love, from a female perspective, to try and get into a male's brain, what advice would you give to that man who's really struggling? To stop being so keen?
No, I think women like men to be keen. Definitely. Like women like to be
right.
chased. Women
Yeah,
like
I guess
to be made to feel like a princess. They like to be made to feel special. And men just kind of think that, and I'm only talking New Zealand men, I'm not talking everybody, but I think no, women like to be chased. They like to be felt to made special, and like,
why do you think this play hard to get culture has been so prevalent then?
I think people are just afraid of getting hurt, of showing their true selves. So, maybe that's why. I don't know. I don't like games. I don't see the point in them. And I think if you're going to play hard to get, well, what happens when they get you? Then they get bored. So it's kind of like short circuits that idea, doesn't it? You either like someone or you don't, right? Like
pretty black and white, isn't it?
You have a spark with someone or you don't, right? And if you play hard to get, and do you think that's going to make, it doesn't make me like someone more. It probably makes me like them less if they're playing hard to get. Like, I just kind of think, oh, well, you're not that into me, so why should I bother? Whereas if I can feel that a guy is into you, that's like a total turn on, I suppose, or a total like, wow, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's more of a pragmatic approach, really, isn't it?
That could be just me. I'm not speaking for all females. I'm just talking, I can only talk from personal experience, and like probably like talking to a couple of friends of mine, like women like to know that a guy likes them.
Yeah, I would say, and this is generalizing too, I'm not sure what evidence is behind that. We're both just speaking anecdotally anyway, right, on our own personal experiences. But I think I've found like the larger egos, right, like and enjoy the chase more, and they play that whole play hard to get type thing. Like the bigger the ego,
Are you talking about men or women?
I'm talking about both. Like I've come across very high ego driven woman, big ego type men as well, and that's just a trend that I've noticed. That they love those games and being like, oh yeah, I'm interested in the chase. But if they're interested in the chase, I would probably say 9 times out of 10 they're probably a fuckwit boy, or you know what I mean. Like they're not probably looking for a really sincere relationship, I'd imagine.
No, those sorts of men are very unattractive to me. I don't find those sorts of men attractive because I think you're just like a piece in the chessboard, or you're a handbag, or you're like a commodity. Once they have you, or once they've achieved their goal, it's like, what's next? So what's the point? That's just how I think. But I don't know, everyone thinks like that, but I particularly like ego-driven men. Find them weak.
You find them weak? Yeah, fair enough. That is true. In fact, that there's a lot of evidence suggesting that, though. The higher the ego, the weaker and more insecure one really is,
Well, they are, because it takes a lot of strength to be vulnerable, and it takes a lot of strength to be truthful and reveal your true self to people. If you're just sitting there trying to pretend you're something you're not, well, that's easy. Anyone can wear a mask and pretend you're something you're not, right? It doesn't take any strength to do that. It just takes strategy and perception. That's how I view it anyway. Yeah. I might be a little different from the rest, though. Don't know.
Oh no! You're bang on the money there. You'd have to agree, though. Every human on this planet is seeking some form of love, however you define it, though, right? Like we all want to be loved. Like the same principle of when we were a child growing up, we wanted our parents to love us, and they did. They nurtured us. They were around us and gave us what we required. And as adults, as we grow older, we still require that.
Every human, like that's how your brain's wired, is connection. Our brain is wired for connection, unless you're a psychopath. They're the only people that aren't wired that way. But if you're like a normal person, everyone is seeking that validation. They're seeking that emotional connection with someone. It's just how you can't escape it. That's why places like Tinder exists, because everyone wants that connection.
So true. But I feel as though, and I'd love to do some studies, man, ever since the implementation of those apps out there, just that swipe culture, right? And going back into what you were saying around preying on that ego to be like, oh, well, what's the next best option available? You know what I mean? Like, and then therefore I just don't think well, per date, the credibility, the trust, the enthusiasm on a date now is always, I think, in this mindset of people that are swiping a lot on these apps is, oh, well, if this isn't quite perfect, I've got the app again and I can go find the next best thing. So it's sort of creating this culture of a kind of murky water around looking for perfection where perfection doesn't exist. Like, we all have our imperfections, you know what I mean? So I just think, and you're spoiled for choice, and when you've got too many options, I just don't think it's healthy.
I think the hard thing is that people, the real things that matter is not what you look like or your outward appearance. I'm not saying it's not important, but I mean, like, what matters is who you are as a person.
Look good, feel good, though, right? No.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying you shouldn't look good, but I'm saying what the apps and social media and Instagram has done is it's made everybody's focus just look on the outside stuff, on the wrapping. Like, imagine like a present. It's just on the gift wrap. It's not what the present is, which is the core of who you are as a person. It's the outside gift wrapping, and everyone looks at it like, oh, that's really pretty, and then you open and it's like a rotten apple. Like, it's like what should matter and what I think people genuinely want deep down as an authenticity, but it's really hard to find that these days because the way the media is set up and the way our society is driven is purely by looks and what you look like, what you drive, what you wear, what you do. But that's kind of what most people's validation or value system is.
Yeah, it's
which
so
is sad,
true.
that's not really what matters. And ultimately, if you're going for those things in a partner, then I mean, wrapping paper burns, doesn't it? You know.
I'm loving these, Solina. These analogies that you just thrown out from thin air are bang. Oh, they're perfect. They're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, right?
It does just burn. Yeah, plastic burns worse too.
Yeah, totally. So plastic surgery.
It smells. Plastic smells real bad.
If anyone needs one.
This Luke Farr show has just turned the whole premise has just changed. It's turned into like the male version of Oprah Winfrey. I love it. but you are right, and I've been caught in that trap many times. When I was living in Toronto, or would be in New York, and you'd be on a date with a very gorgeous girl, and but just with no substance, no heart or soul, and it's lifeless. Like, I just can't connect, and like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, great to look at, and you can get turned on and all that stuff. But you're like, but that stuff there is such a small component,
Yeah, and it doesn't last. Like, it might last for 6 months or a year or whatever, but then after that, it's like, well,
it lasts 3 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I can't board now.
That's exactly right. Hey, that's all we've got time for today, Solina. Thank you so much for coming on the Luke Farr Show to motivate, educate, and inspire our next generation of leaders. And we've inspired them in many different ways, not only with tires, but with dating advice, with everything. But thank you so much again for coming on. You provide some very actionable insights.
Well, we've inflated everything, haven't we? Thanks.
That's true. Hey, give us a where's the tag? www. And then what's the gram? Oh, it's at Euro Tires.
Yeah, so no. So it's www.eurotire.co.nz, TYRE, and then Instagram is at euro.tire.
Fantastic. Awesome. Hit it up, guys. Hey, thanks again for coming on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was good.
I'll just hit the stop record.
Yeah.